In 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hey, what's going on? My name is Bill Weiss from Island Creek Oysters, and welcome to my kitchen. I am so stoked to be making these today. These are Angry Oysters, and we're going to use a compound butter. They have some chorizo in there, some chili, some parsley, some orange, and some grilled lemon. And we have this beautiful grill pan. It's a very bright, fresh, robust dish for the 4th of July. So when the sun is shining on the 4th and you got the grill going, get one of these grill pans, get some oysters, and make this butter and make it basty, baby. This is really fun to do for us. We have, surprisingly enough, a lot of culinary backgrounds here at Island Creek, specifically on the sales team that deals with all the chefs that we work with across the country. So I want you to trust me when I tell you that this stuff is delicious. So we're going to run through the recipe, we're going to cook it, and then we're going to eat it. Fair enough? So the first thing that you have to understand is the compound butter. Compound butter is a fancy, or not so fancy way of just saying butter with stuff in it. So today, the things that we're using, like I said, is smoked paprika. This is a little chili to garnish it afterwards. We're going to have some parsley here, and the parsley is going to go in the butter and garnish, and then the piece de resistance is the chorizo, right? And chorizo, they have the Mexican chorizo and a Spanish chorizo. This is a Spanish chorizo, and it is a fresh, it's a cured, it can be fresh or cured sausage that is very robust in flavor. It's a pork sausage. And the main thing that goes into this is smoked paprika. That kind of gives it that red color. But it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And we're going to have this beautifully spicy pork. We're going to cut it with some grassy parsley, some citrus over here, orange and lemon. And we're going to kind of give it some more backbone with some more smoked paprika. It's all diced up. This is kind of just a rough chop of parsley, but the really important thing to do when you're cutting peppers like this is that you have, for lack of a better word, there's like this white little pith. When you have spicy chilies, most of the capsaicin and the really spicy part is held in this little white pith as well as the seed. So if you want to control the spice, you can cut that out like this. And also sometimes in some peppers, depending on when you're harvesting them, what time of year, that pith can also be a little bit bitter. So I like to cut it out, and then you're just going to take your knife and you're going to run through it like that and create little matchsticks, little beautiful singular little matchsticks. It's also, just notice when I'm cutting, it's also important to keep your fingers back. And I kind of ride the blade of the knife against my knuckles. And the reason why I did do that is because I spent a lot of time in the kitchen in emergency rooms getting stitches. And that ain't fun. And then the chorizo is very similar. You just got to make planks first. So you have this little piece of sausage, and you cut these into planks like that. And you take the planks and you make fun little matchsticks out of the planks, right? And then you do the same thing. You come down and create a medium dice. And you just come on the other side like this. Boom, boom, boom. And then you got some chorizo. And then with the parsley, this is actually really important. So one of my biggest pet peeves is if somebody asks me to come over and like we're cooking dinner together and I don't bring any of my stuff. And I go, hey, can I have your knife? And I get the knife, and the knife couldn't even cut butter. It's so dull. Having a dull knife in the kitchen is like the worst thing on the planet. And the reason why is the dull knife is very dangerous, right? As you notice when I do the parsley, I cut through it once. When you see people like this on TV milling like that, you can do that with certain things. But with this specifically, you're going to bruise the herb, and especially like beautiful little delicate fine herbs like parsley, like tarragon, like chives and things like that. The harder herbs like thyme and rosemary, you can mill it a little bit, but you don't want to bruise the parsley. And you want to cut through it once, and you want to have a sharp knife. The sharp knife really helps out with that and makes all the work a lot easier. So we have parsley, we have the chorizo, we have our beautiful pepper for garnish later. This is all going to go into the compound butter, but we don't want to put the chorizo into the compound butter raw, right? So we're going to come over here and we're going to render it. So rendering is a process in which you kind of just slowly cook like sausage or any kind of meat or anything that has fat in it, and it's a slow kind of rendering. That's the name. Oops, beep that out. So you're just basically slowly taking all the fat out, and at the end you're gonna get a really crispy, nice piece of pork, and then you're gonna have all this beautiful fat that you can reserve, and we're gonna end up putting that into the butter as well. We have this pan over here. We're gonna turn this on. Beep. And then we're going to keep it on like medium-high heat just to kind of get the temperature of the oil up. And then once we get all the pork in there, we're going to lower the temp and just let it ride. It'll take, 5 or 10 minutes. Ooh, you hear that? That's yum yum. So right now, that is good to go, and we're just going to leave it like that. While that's going, we can kind of get some of the stuff that we need for the butter ready. So we have a bowl. We have butter. Important to note, unless you're spreading butter on toast, you got to use unsalted butter in everything that you do cooking. You want to control the seasoning of your final product. You don't want the butter from some farmer in Western Mass controlling your seasoning, right? So this is unsalted butter. For this, all we really need is 2 sticks, which is like half a pound. And before you start going crazy rendering chorizo and all that stuff, make sure a couple hours before you can take the butter out and temper it just to get it to room temperature so you can manipulate it and like get everything mixed together. This butter wasn't tempered, so I'm going to use 2 tools that God gave me. My hands. I'm going to help this butter out with my hands. Now don't worry, I washed these yesterday, but I'm just going to go in there and just kind of help it out. It's already kind of soft, but I'm just going to kind of help it out and get it softer. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start adding some of the components that are going to go in. That's going to end up going in that fat, but we can just get this stuff ready and ready to go. So this is probably about 2 tablespoons of parsley. That's a half pound of unsalted butter. We're going to take probably, I don't know, that's like 1 teaspoon, 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika. Take a little salt because I know it's unsalted. Now here's the deal. When you're seasoning stuff, it's always important to season all the way through a cooking process, but you also got to understand like what you're putting into the dish. Chorizo, it's salty. Oysters, the liquor, the most direct connection to terroir or terroir you could ever experience in your life is literally the water in which the oyster was grown in. So it's salt water, right? Guess what? Salt water, salty. So when you take into consideration all of these components, you just got to make sure you're not over seasoning the butter. So when you add the chorizo and the oyster to the whole mix, that it's not over salty. So we're going to do that. Get that mixed up a little bit. I could be using a spoon, but I like the noise of this. That's a microphone. Can you hear that? Wong sauce, you like that? Okay. All right. We're going to leave that like that for a second. I'm going to go over and wash my hands. Nice. Just gave that a little stir, a little love tap, tit tap, tappy toodle, and now it's going to sit there and rest a little bit longer. Oh, you're getting the wafts? You can smell it? Yeah. So we have our butter. What we're going to do is we're going to add some citrus to it, but I don't want to add necessarily just the juice. We're going to add some zest. Orange zest is orange. When you zest something, you're going to notice that if you go too deep, you're going to get into the white pith of the citrus. We don't like that. The pith is bitter and weird, and so we just want the beautiful zest on the outside. I'm a big fan of orange, so I'm probably going to go a little bit heavy. You basically want, I don't know, a tablespoon of that in there. If you don't like orange, you can use lemon. If you don't like lemon, you can use grapefruit. If you like all of them, put all of them in there. But we're also going to use some juicy juice. So I'm going to cut a little bit of that orange off and squeeze some juice in there. And now we're going to put in some chorizo fat because chorizo fat is yum, 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 yum. So this is the chorizo fat that we reserved from when we rendered it back there. We reserved the fat. We have nice little chorizo bits right here. We can garnish with those later if need be. We can take this and we're going to just dump all but about a tablespoon in there. And we're going to go ahead and mix that into the butter. So you get nice porky, beautiful compound butter. I am no longer using my hands. What we do is I'm going to actually get a spoon here. Wrong drawer. It's over here. So I'm going to need a spoon because I want to taste with a spoon. I usually taste with my fingers, but that'd be gross, right? So like everything, you taste what you eat. You can add some of this stuff to your taste, depending on how, you want it to be. So added a little more citrus to that to brighten it up. And I'm going to add some salt. I'm going to be seasoning with Duxbury sea salt from the Duxbury Salt Works. Shameless plug. So I'm going to take the same spoon, but so you know I'm not double dipping, I'm going to take the handle this time. Oh, that's awesome. So that's done. There are so many wonderful oysters in all of New England. We work with, at the height of oyster season, 50 plus growers around New England, and we are blessed through our Portland shop to be able to get some great oysters from the state of Maine. Today we're using a beautiful oyster from Tony Simmons on the Damariscotta River in Maine, and they're called Dodge Coves. They are a beautiful oyster, very hard shell, and they're actually harvested vis-a-vis scuba diving and snorkeling. So that's kind of cool, like there's somebody like diving down and grabbing each one of the oysters. So we're going to go ahead and bring these outside of the grill. We're going to shuck them, and we're going to cook them outside. And our grill has been preheating outside. We're just going to put these beautiful Dodge Cove oysters into this pan. Now, we started this grill when we first started the whole experience this morning. And now this cast iron pan, our oyster roasting pan, is all set to go. If you don't have one of these, no worries. You can put the oysters directly on the grill grate. But we have one, and it's really cool, so we're going to use them. We're going to put these in the roasting pan. You got little homes in there. And then, right away, we're going to come in here and put some butter on each one of these guys. Really easy. Don't be shy with the butter. More butter, the better. Yeah, this beautifully flavored, very robust compound butter. So here's the thing about cooking oysters. You don't need to hammer them for like 15 minutes. You just want to get the butter kind of melted, the liquor in the oyster kind of bubbling through. And when you get the butter melted and the bubbles coming through, she's about done. You just want to warm her up and get things going. So everybody say goodbye to the oysters. Bye, oysters. You can hear all that butter kind of spilling over into that hot cast iron pan, creating all sorts of goodness in there. But let them do their thing in private. You don't have to look at them constantly. But yeah, this is only going to take like 4 or 5 minutes. And, this grill's ripping on high. All right, so these mother beeps are done. And 1, 2, 3, and let's go. Okay, so they're kind of bubbling around. The meats are still kind of plump. They're not like just absolutely shrunk in on themselves. So there's going to be a lot of carryover cooking with this cast iron pan because it's so hot. So we can turn the grill off. I'm going to grab those. So we're going to bring it on the inside. We're going to finish them off indoors, and then it's yum yum time. A little bit of fresh chili. I like using Fresno. It kind of just goes well with all these flavors. You don't have to be like super, artsy with it. You literally, as it lies, as my old chef Nick would say, as it lies. So there's some fresh chili in there. It's really important to get some of these beautifully grilled lemons on there. Lemon juice, caramelized on the grill, always a fun add-on. Literally, when you grill lemon, all you got to do, get a screaming hot grill, put them on the grill, and let them sit there, right? If we wanted to, we could be even more fancy and start putting on like parsley leaves that we picked and stuff like that, but you don't necessarily need to do that. They look good just the way they are. And yeah, let's not fuss over it. Let's eat them. And then just chorizo for everybody. Yay! Chorizo party. There you go. Angry oysters, right? Angry because my old chef Nick used to call basil chili, and orange, Angry. And we have orange in here instead of basil. We have parsley, and we have the Fresno chili on there. So these are our Angry Oysters. Thank you, Chef Nick, for the recipe, basically. I'm Bill Weiss, and these are Angry Oysters.
Couple days.